It was a quiet night at the observatory, located on a remote mountaintop, far from the lights and noise of the city. The sky was clear and the stars twinkled like tiny diamonds scattered across a black velvet sky. Inside the observatory, Dr. Sarah Blake was sipping her coffee, staring at the monitors in front of her. She was an experienced scientist, but even she found the stillness of space both calming and mysterious. Dr. Sarah had spent years studying the stars, searching for any signs of life beyond Earth. Most nights were uneventful, with the same routine of checking data, adjusting the telescopes, and making notes. But tonight something was different. A strange signal had appeared on the screen, faint but unmistakable. It wasn't the usual background noise or a random blip. This was something else, something she hadn't seen before. She leaned forward, her heart racing slightly. The signal was weak, barely registering on the equipment, but it had a distinct pattern. It was almost as if someone or something was trying to communicate. Could this be? She whispered to herself, not daring to finish the thought. Without wasting any time, Dr. Sarah quickly began analyzing the signal. She ran it through various filters, trying to clean up the noise and reveal the underlying message. The more she worked, the more she realized that this wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was a distress signal, a call for help from somewhere deep in space. She reached for the intercom and called her assistant, Jason. "Jason, get in here, quick!" Jason, a young and eager intern, rushed into the room. "What's up, Dr. Blake? Look at this," she said, pointing to the screen. "I think we've picked up a distress signal from deep space." Jason's eyes widened. "Are you serious? From aliens?" Dr. Sarah nodded. "It looks that way, but we need to be sure. Help me decode this." Together, they worked through the night, trying to make sense of the signal. The hours ticked by, and the excitement in the room grew. They knew this could be a groundbreaking discovery, proof that humans were not alone in the universe. As they decoded more of the signal, a picture began to emerge. The signal was coming from a fleet of alien ships stranded in a distant part of space. Their engines had failed, and they were drifting helpless and alone. The signal was a desperate plea for assistance, sent in the hope that someone, somewhere, would hear them. "This is incredible," Jason said, his voice filled with awe. "They're really out there, and they need our help." Dr. Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "We have to inform Space Command. They need to know about this right away." She quickly composed a message to Earth's Space Command, detailing their discovery. She knew that this would set off a chain of events that could change the course of history. If Earth could mount a rescue mission, it would be the first time humans had reached out to help another intelligent species. As they waited for a response from Space Command, Dr. Sarah couldn't help but think about the aliens out there, stranded and possibly scared. They were alone, far from home, and they had no idea if their signal would be received or if help would ever come. But now there was hope. The humans had heard their call. Finally, the response came. Space Command was mobilizing a team to assess the situation and plan a possible rescue mission. Dr. Sarah and Jason were told to stand by and continue monitoring the signal. They would be kept in the loop as things progressed. As dawn broke and the first light of morning crept into the observatory, Dr. Sarah leaned back in her chair, exhausted but exhilarated. They had made contact with an alien species, something humanity had dreamed of for centuries. But more than that, they had a chance to do something truly remarkable. They could reach out and offer help to beings from another world. "This is just the beginning," she said softly, mostly to herself. Jason, standing beside her, smiled. "I guess we're about to find out what it really means to be human." Dr. Sarah nodded. "Yes, and it's time to show the universe that we're ready." With that, they turned their attention back to the monitors, ready for whatever came next. The signal continued to pulse on the screen, a reminder that somewhere out there, in the vastness of space, someone was waiting for their help. And now, humanity was about to answer the call. Part 2, Unraveling the Mystery. The discovery of the alien distress signal had sent shockwaves through Earth's Space Command. Dr. Sarah Blake and her assistant Jason were at the heart of this groundbreaking event. After a few hours of much-needed rest, they returned to the observatory, ready to continue their work. The air was thick with anticipation. They knew the world was now watching. As Dr. Sarah sat down in front of the monitor, she noticed that the signal was still coming in, but it remained faint and garbled. There were moments when it would almost fade away, only to return stronger. It was as if the aliens were struggling to keep their message alive, fighting against whatever forces were holding them back. "We need to clean up this signal more," Dr. Sarah said, her mind already racing with possibilities. "We have to get a clearer picture of what's happening out there." Jason nodded, his fingers flying over the keyboard. He was running the signal through different filters, trying to remove the noise and enhance the underlying message. The process was tedious and time-consuming, but neither of them was willing to give up. "Look at this," Jason said suddenly, pointing at the screen. "It's getting clearer. I think I can see some patterns." Dr. Sarah leaned in, her eyes narrowing as she studied the data. Slowly, piece by piece, the message was revealing itself. They could make out parts of it now, fragments of a language they didn't recognize, mixed with symbols and numbers. "It's like a puzzle," Dr. Sarah said. "We just need to put it together." They spent hours working on the signal, isolating different parts and analyzing each section. The more they uncovered, the more they realized how dire the situation was for the alien fleet. The message spoke of engine failures, depleting resources, and the growing fear that they might not survive much longer. "These aliens are in serious trouble," Jason said, his voice tinged with concern. "Their ships are breaking down, and they're running out of everything: fuel, food, even air." Dr. Sarah felt a deep sense of urgency. She knew that time was running out, not just for the aliens, but also for them to figure out a way to help. "We need to understand their language," she said. "If we can fully decode this message, we might be able to communicate with them." Jason pulled up a translation program, one designed to identify and interpret unknown languages. It wasn't perfect, but it was their best shot. The program began analyzing the alien text, searching for patterns that matched anything in Earth's vast database. For a while, the program worked in silence, the only sound being the hum of the computers and the occasional beep as new data was processed. Then a small notification popped up on the screen. "Got something!" Jason exclaimed. The program had identified certain symbols that resembled a mathematical code, something that could be translated into a universal language. Using these clues, they started to piece together more of the message. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to give them a clearer understanding. "They're asking for help," Dr. Sarah said, her voice filled with determination. "They're giving us coordinates, telling us where they are and what they need. But there's something else, something about a danger they're facing." Jason frowned, scrolling through the text. "It says something about a cosmic storm, but I don't understand the rest." Dr. Sarah quickly cross-referenced the term with known space phenomena. The result made her blood run cold. "It's a hyperstorm," she said. "A massive space storm that can tear apart anything in its path. If they're caught in it, they won't survive," Jason finished, his face pale. Dr. Sarah knew they had to act fast. She sent the decoded message to Space Command, along with their analysis of the hyperstorm. They needed to warn the rescue team of the imminent danger and ensure they had a plan to deal with it. As they waited for a response, Dr. Sarah couldn't shake the image of the stranded aliens, their ships slowly breaking apart while a deadly storm loomed closer. They were alone, scared and helpless in the vast emptiness of space. And yet somehow they had managed to reach out across the stars, hoping against hope that someone would hear them. Finally, the response from Space Command came through. The rescue mission was a go, but with a new urgency. The team would have to navigate through the storm, a task that would test even the most skilled pilots and engineers. Dr. Sarah and Jason were instructed to keep decoding the message and provide any additional information that might help. As they continued their work, Dr. Sarah found herself thinking about the aliens on a personal level. Who were they? What did they look like? What kind of culture did they have? And most importantly, what were they feeling right now? "They must be terrified," she said quietly, knowing that they might not make it, but still holding on to the hope that someone will save them. Jason nodded, his expression serious. "We have to make sure we don't let them down." With renewed focus, they dived back into their work, determined to unravel every last bit of the mystery. The more they decoded, the clearer it became these aliens were not so different from humans. They had families, homes, and lives that they wanted to protect. And now it was up to Dr. Sarah, Jason, and the rest of humanity to ensure that they got the help they so desperately needed. As the night wore on, the signal continued to pulse on the screen, a constant reminder of the lives hanging in the balance. And with every passing moment, the urgency to solve the mystery and launch the rescue mission grew stronger. The clock was ticking, and there was no time to waste. Dr. Sarah Blake sat in the dim light of the observatory, her eyes fixed on the signal that continued to pulse on the screen. The more she and Jason decoded, the more they realized how desperate the situation was for the alien fleet. Time was running out, and the hyperstorm was closing in on them. The rescue mission was approved, but it wasn't going to be easy. The team had to navigate through a treacherous region of space filled with unknown dangers. Even with all the technology and experience they had, there was no guarantee of success. Dr. Sarah knew that the risk was high, but she also knew that they couldn't just stand by and do nothing. As she sipped her coffee, lost in thought, Jason broke the silence. "Do you think they'll make it in time?" The rescue team, I mean. Dr. Sarah didn't answer right away. She was thinking about the odds, about the countless variables that could go wrong. "I don't know, Jason," she finally said, her voice heavy with concern. "But we have to believe they will. It's our only hope." Jason nodded, though he didn't look convinced. "It just feels like we should be doing more. Sitting here, decoding signals, it doesn't feel like enough." Dr. Sarah understood what he meant. They were scientists, not soldiers. Their job was to observe, analyze, and report. But now, in the face of this crisis, it felt like they were on the sidelines while others took the real risks. A sudden thought crossed her mind, something bold and risky, something that might make a real difference. She hesitated, knowing how crazy it sounded, but the more she thought about it, the more it seemed like the only option. "What if we went with them?" Dr. Sarah said, almost to herself. Jason looked at her, surprised. "What do you mean?" Dr. Sarah turned to him, her eyes filled with determination. "What if we joined the rescue mission? We've been working on this signal from the beginning. We understand it better than anyone else. If something goes wrong out there, they might need our expertise on the spot." Jason's eyes widened. "You're serious? We could actually go?" "It's a long shot and it's dangerous," Dr. Sarah admitted, "but I think it's worth the risk. We're not just scientists anymore, Jason. We're part of something bigger. Those aliens out there are depending on us." The idea hung in the air, heavy with the weight of its implications. Jason could see the logic in her words, but the thought of leaving the safety of Earth and venturing into the unknown was terrifying. "But what if something happens to us out there?" Jason asked, his voice wavering. "We're not trained for this kind of mission." Dr. Sarah placed a hand on his shoulder. "I know it's scary, but think about what's at stake. If we don't do everything we can, those aliens might not make it. This is our chance to do something extraordinary, something that could change the course of history." Jason took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. He had never imagined himself in this kind of situation, but he also couldn't deny the truth in Dr. Sarah's words. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make a difference, to be a part of something truly remarkable. "Okay," Jason said, his voice firm. "Let's do it." Dr. Sarah smiled, feeling a surge of pride in her young assistant. "Good. I'll contact Space Command and let them know our decision." She quickly composed a message, outlining their reasons for wanting to join the mission. It was a bold request, and she wasn't sure how it would be received, but she knew they had to try. The message was sent, and now all they could do was wait. The hours dragged by, each minute feeling like an eternity. Dr. Sarah and Jason continued to work on decoding the signal, trying to uncover any more information that could help the rescue team. But their minds kept drifting back to the decision they had made and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Finally, the response came. The rescue mission leader, Commander Davis, had approved their request. They were to meet the team at the launch site in the next few hours. "We're really doing this," Jason said, a mixture of excitement and fear in his voice. Dr. Sarah nodded, feeling the same mix of emotions. "Yes, we are, and we need to be ready for anything." They quickly gathered what they needed, packing essential equipment and data drives with all the information they had decoded so far. As they left the observatory, Dr. Sarah took one last look at the starry sky above. It felt surreal to think that soon they would be out there, among those stars, fighting to save lives. At the launch site, they met Commander Davis, a seasoned astronaut with a reputation for keeping cool under pressure. He briefed them on the mission, explaining the dangers they would face and the importance of their role. "Your expertise with the signal could be the key to saving those aliens," Commander Davis said. "But remember, this mission is dangerous. We're going into uncharted territory, and there's no room for mistakes." Dr. Sarah and Jason nodded, fully aware of the risks. They boarded the spacecraft, their hearts pounding with anticipation. As the countdown began, they exchanged a glance, knowing that there was no turning back now. The engines roared to life and the spacecraft lifted off, leaving Earth behind. Dr. Sarah felt a mix of fear and excitement as they soared into space, heading toward the unknown. They were on their way to save a stranded alien fleet, and nothing would ever be the same again. The spacecraft hummed as it cut through the darkness of space, leaving the safety of Earth far behind. Dr. Sarah, Blake, and Jason sat strapped into their seats, the reality of their decision sinking in as the stars outside the windows twinkled like distant beacons. They were heading into uncharted territory, a place where few humans had ventured before. The weight of their mission pressed heavily on them, but they knew there was no turning back. Commander Davis, seated at the controls, was focused and calm. His years of experience in space exploration made him the perfect leader for this dangerous mission. Yet even he couldn't hide the tension in his voice as he addressed the crew. "We're now entering the region where the distress signal originated," Commander Davis announced. "All systems are functioning normally, but we need to be prepared for anything." Dr. Sarah nodded, her hands gripping the armrests of her seat. "Jason, keep monitoring the signal. We need to make sure we're on the right track." Jason was already on it, his eyes scanning the data on his screen. The signal was stronger now, more coherent, but there were still moments of distortion, like the aliens were struggling to keep it going. "It's getting clearer," Jason said. "We're definitely getting closer." As they ventured deeper into space, the stars seemed to thin out, replaced by swirling clouds of cosmic dust and faint glimmers of light from distant galaxies. It was beautiful, but also eerie, a reminder of just how vast and empty the universe could be. Suddenly, the spacecraft shuddered, a low rumble vibrating through the hull. Everyone tensed, their eyes darting to the control panels. "What was that?" Dr. Sarah asked, her voice tight with anxiety. Commander Davis quickly checked the readings. "We've just entered the outer edge of the hyperstorm. The turbulence is going to get worse, so everyone needs to stay alert." Dr. Sarah's heart raced as she looked out the window. The once clear view of space was now obscured by swirling clouds of energy, crackling with flashes of light. The hyperstorm was a chaotic force of nature, and they were flying right into the heart of it. The spacecraft began to shake more violently, the turbulence tossing them around like a leaf in a storm. Dr. Sarah held on tightly, her knuckles white as she fought to keep her composure. Jason was pale, his eyes wide with fear, but he kept working, adjusting the signal receivers to maintain contact with the alien fleet. "We're getting closer to their location," Jason reported, his voice strained. "But the storm is making it hard to lock onto their exact coordinates." Commander Davis grimaced, adjusting the controls to keep the ship steady. "We'll have to rely on visuals soon. The instruments are going to be unreliable in this storm." The spacecraft's lights flickered as the hyperstorm's energy waves buffeted them from all sides. Dr. Sarah's stomach churned with a mix of fear and determination. They were so close now, but the storm was making every second a fight for survival. "Stay focused, everyone," Commander Davis urged. "We're almost there." Through the swirling clouds, Dr. Sarah caught a glimpse of something, faint but unmistakable. A cluster of dark shapes, barely visible in the chaos of the storm. It was the alien fleet drifting helplessly in the void. "There," Dr. Sarah shouted, pointing out the window. "I see them!" Commander Davis squinted, trying to make out the shapes through the storm. "I see them too. We're going in." He guided the spacecraft toward the fleet, maneuvering through the violent currents of the hyperstorm with practiced skill. The closer they got, the more clearly the alien ships came into view. They were large, elegant vessels, but they were clearly in bad shape. Some of the ships had visible damage, with parts of their hulls torn away, exposing the fragile interiors to the unforgiving vacuum of space. Jason's monitor beeped as the signal from the alien fleet grew stronger. "We're almost on top of them," he said, "but I'm picking up more interference. There's something else out there." Dr. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean? What else could be out here?" Jason adjusted the frequency, trying to filter out the interference. But the more he tried, the more the signals seemed to distort, as if something was actively trying to block their communication. "I don't know," Jason said, frustration creeping into his voice. "It's like there's another signal, something powerful trying to jam the connection." Commander Davis frowned, his grip tightening on the controls. "Could it be part of the storm?" Dr. Sarah shook her head. "No, it feels different, almost like it's deliberate." The spacecraft shook violently again, this time more intense, as if something was pulling at them. The alarms blared and the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows inside the cabin. "We're being pulled off course," Commander Davis shouted, fighting the controls. "Something's got us." Panic gripped the crew as the spacecraft was dragged sideways, away from the alien fleet. Dr. Sarah could see the ship slipping out of view, disappearing into the swirling clouds of the storm. "Do something," Jason yelled, his hands gripping the sides of his seat. "I'm trying," Commander Davis growled, his face set in concentration. Dr. Sarah felt helpless, her mind racing to find a solution. Then it hit her, the alien signal. If they could boost it, maybe they could counteract whatever was pulling them away. "Jason, increase the power to the signal receivers," Dr. Sarah ordered. "We need to amplify the alien signal." Jason nodded, his fingers flying over the controls. He rerouted power from non-essential systems to the signal receivers, boosting their strength. The spacecraft shuddered, but then slowly the pulling force began to weaken. "It's working!" Jason shouted, relief flooding his voice. Commander Davis quickly adjusted the controls, bringing the spacecraft back on course. The alien fleet reappeared through the storm, closer now, almost within reach. "We're back on track," Commander Davis confirmed, his voice calm but tense. "But we're not out of the woods yet. Everyone stay sharp." Dr. Sarah let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. They had made it through the worst of the storm, but the journey wasn't over. Ahead of them lay the alien fleet, and with it, the mystery of what had nearly pulled them off course. As they approached the fleet, Dr. Sarah knew that their mission was far from complete. The real challenge was just beginning. But no matter what happened next, they were ready to face it together, driven by the knowledge that they were the aliens' last hope. The spacecraft drifted silently among the alien fleet, the hyperstorm now a distant threat behind them. Dr. Sarah Blake, Jason, and Commander Davis stared out of the windows at the massive ships surrounding them. The alien vessels were unlike anything they had ever seen, sleek, with flowing curves and glowing symbols that pulsed gently in the darkness. The ships seemed to be in a state of hibernation, their lights dim and their engines silent. "All right, everyone," Commander Davis said, breaking the silence. "We're here. Let's make contact." Dr. Sarah took a deep breath and nodded. This was the moment they had been preparing for, the first direct contact with an alien species. She moved to the communication console, her fingers trembling slightly as she adjusted the settings. "Jason, how's the signal?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Jason checked his screen, his brow furrowed in concentration. "The signal is strong, but there's still some interference. I'm working on clearing it up." Dr. Sarah waited, her heart pounding. This was uncharted territory for humanity. No one knew what to expect, but they had to make sure their intentions were clear. They were here to help, not to harm. "Okay, I think I've got it," Jason said, finally looking up. "We're ready to transmit." Dr. Sarah leaned into the microphone, her voice calm and clear. "This is Dr. Sarah Blake of the Earth exploration vessel Endeavor. We've received your distress signal and are here to assist. Please respond if you can hear us." There was a moment of tense silence as they waited for a reply. The spacecraft's interior was eerily quiet, the only sound being the soft hum of the engines. Dr. Sarah's eyes were fixed on the alien ships, hoping for some sign of life. Then the console crackled to life. A strange, melodic tone filled the air, followed by a series of clicks and hums. Jason's eyes widened as he quickly adjusted the settings, trying to make sense of the sounds. I think that's their response, Jason said, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Sarah felt a surge of excitement. Can you translate it? Jason worked furiously at the controls, the alien sounds filling the cabin. After a few tense moments, he nodded. I'm getting something. It's not perfect, but I think I can get the gist of it. Put it through, Commander Davis ordered. His eyes narrowed in concentration. The alien transmission played through the speakers, and Jason's translation appeared on the screen. The words were fragmented, but the meaning was clear enough. Help. Stranded. Engines failed. Need assistance. Who are you? Dr. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. The aliens were asking who they were, and they were in desperate need of help. This was their chance to establish trust, to show that humans could be allies. We're here to help, Dr. Sarah repeated into the microphone. We are from Earth, a planet in the Milky Way galaxy. We received your distress signal and came to offer assistance. What do you need? The response came quickly, the alien voice sounding more urgent now. Engines damaged. Cannot repair? Need energy. Running out of time. Commander Davis exchanged a glance with Dr. Sarah. They need energy. We should be able to help with that. Dr. Sarah nodded, turning back to the console. We have the capability to transfer energy to your ships. We can help you repair your engines. Please provide us with the necessary coordinates and instructions. The alien transmission paused for a moment, and Dr. Sarah could almost feel the tension on the other side. Then, a new series of coordinates flashed on the screen, along with a detailed set of instructions. Jason's eyes widened as he reviewed the data. These instructions? They're incredibly complex. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. But can we do it? Commander Davis asked, his voice firm. Jason hesitated, then nodded slowly. Yes, but it's going to take some time. We'll need to carefully follow these steps, or we risk damaging their systems even further. Dr. Sarah took a deep breath. Then let's get started. We need to show them that we're capable of helping. Commander Davis nodded. Agreed. Jason, start the process. Dr. Sarah. Communication line open. We need to stay in contact with them at all times. Jason began working on the energy transfer, his hands moving quickly over the controls. The alien ships loomed large on the screen, their dark surfaces glinting with faint lights as the energy transfer process began. Dr. Sarah monitored the communication line, occasionally transmitting updates to the aliens. She could sense their anxiety, their desperate hope that this strange species from a distant world could save them. Minutes passed like hours as the energy transfer continued. The spacecraft's systems hummed with the strain of the operation, but everything was holding steady. Dr. Sarah watched as the alien ships began to show signs of life, their engines flickering back on, lights glowing brighter. We're almost there, Jason said, his voice tense with concentration. Just a little more. Suddenly, the communication console crackled again, and a new message appeared on the screen. Thank you. Engines restoring. Who are you? Why help? Dr. Sarah smiled, feeling a sense of relief and pride. We're humans, she said into the microphone. We believe in helping those in need, no matter how far away they are. We couldn't ignore your call for help. The alien response was slower this time, as if they were processing her words. Finally, the message came through, and it was one that filled Dr. Sarah with hope. Grateful. We wish to know you, learn from you, trust you. Dr. Sarah's smile widened. This was more than just a rescue mission. It was the beginning of a new relationship between two species. They had taken the first step towards something greater, something that could change the future for both humans and aliens. As the alien ships powered up, ready to continue their journey, Dr. Sarah knew that this was only the beginning. There were still challenges ahead, but for now, they had made contact. They had reached out across the stars and found new allies, proving that humanity was ready to take its place in the galaxy. The Endeavour crew had made significant progress in aiding the stranded alien fleet. The energy transfer was a success, and the alien ships were coming back to life. But the relief was short-lived. A sudden alert echoed through the spacecraft, drawing everyone's attention back to their consoles. "What's happening?" Commander Davis demanded, his eyes scanning the flashing lights on the control panel. Jason's hands flew over the controls as he analyzed the incoming data. "We've got a problem. The storm that disabled their fleet. It's coming back, and this time it's bigger and stronger. If it hits us, it could knock out all of our systems, including the aliens." Dr. Sarah Blake's heart sank. They had come so far, but now they were faced with a challenge that could undo everything. She took a deep breath, focusing on the task at hand. "How much time do we have?" "Not enough," Jason replied grimly. "We need to move fast if we're going to survive this." Commander Davis straightened up, his mind already working on a plan. "We need to get those ships moving. They can't stay here, or they'll be destroyed." Dr. Sarah nodded in agreement. "But their engines are still not fully operational. We need to buy some time." Jason's fingers paused over the controls. "I might have an idea, but it's risky." "Let's hear it," Commander Davis said, his voice firm. "We could use the Endeavor's thrusters to create a temporary shield around the fleet. It won't hold for long, but it might give them the time they need to get their engines running at full capacity." Dr. Sarah considered the plan. It was dangerous, and there was no guarantee it would work, but it was the only option they had. "Do it," she said decisively. Jason nodded and began rerouting power to the thrusters, his face set in determination. The ship shuddered slightly as the thrusters powered up, creating a barrier of energy around the Endeavour and the alien fleet. Commander Davis opened the communication line to the aliens. "We're creating a shield to protect you from the storm, but you need to get your engines running at full power now, or we won't make it." The response from the aliens was swift, the urgency clear in their tone. "Understood. Engines powering up. Thank you." Dr. Sarah kept a close eye on the data streaming in. The storm was closing in fast, and the Endeavor's thrusters were straining to maintain the shield. Sweat beaded on her forehead as the ship trembled under the increasing pressure. Come on," Jason muttered under his breath, his fingers dancing over the controls as he made constant adjustments to keep the shield stable. The storm was now visible on the ship's external cameras, a swirling mass of energy, crackling with power. It was a terrifying sight, and Dr. Sarah couldn't help but feel a twinge of fear as it bore down on them. "Engines at 70%, Jason reported, his voice tight with tension. "They need more time." "Hold the shield," Commander Davis ordered, his eyes locked on the storm. "We're not letting them down now." The Endeavour groaned under the strain, the lights flickering as the power levels fluctuated. Dr. Sarah's hands clenched the edge of her console, her knuckles white. The storm was almost upon them, its energy clashing with the shield in a spectacular display of light. "Engines at 90%, Jason said, his voice louder now as the ship's systems strained to their limits. Just a little more. The storm hit with full force, slamming into the shield. The ship rocked violently, alarms blaring as the energy levels dropped dangerously low. Dr. Sarah held her breath, praying that the shield would hold. "Engines at full power," Jason shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "They're ready to move! Go, go, go!" Commander Davis barked into the communicator. "Get out of here now!" The alien fleet responded instantly, their engines roaring to life as they broke formation and accelerated away from the storm. The Endeavour's shield flickered and then collapsed as the last of the power drained from the thrusters. "We're clear," Jason confirmed, his voice a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "They made it." Dr. Sarah exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. The alien fleet was safe, speeding away from the storm that had almost destroyed them. The Endeavour, though battered, was still intact. Commander Davis slumped back in his seat, a rare smile of relief crossing his face. "Well done, everyone. That was one hell of a challenge, but we pulled through." Dr. Sarah smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. They had faced impossible odds and had come out on top. Not only had they saved the alien fleet, but they had also proven that humanity was capable of great things. The communication console crackled to life one more time, the alien leader's voice coming through clearly. You saved us. We owe you our lives. We wish to continue this alliance. Thank you, humans. Dr. Sarah's heart swelled with pride. This was what they had been working for, a bond of trust and friendship with a species from beyond the stars. They had faced the final challenge together and emerged victorious. As the Endeavor and the alien fleet sailed away from the storm, Dr. Sarah knew that this was just the beginning. There would be more challenges ahead, more tests of their resolve. But for now, they had earned their place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as saviors. As the Endeavor and the alien fleet moved away from the storm, the tension on the bridge slowly eased. The ship's crew, exhausted but relieved, began to relax. The alien ships, now stable and in full operation, formed a protective formation around the Endeavor. Dr. Sarah Blake stood by the window, watching the vast expanse of space as the last remnants of the storm faded into the distance. Commander Davis approached her, a look of satisfaction on his face. Well, Dr. Sarah nodded, her eyes still on the view outside. But we made it through. We saved them and showed them that humanity is here to help. Jason, who had been busy at his console, looked up with a tired but happy smile. The alien fleet is in good shape now. They've sent a message saying they want to meet with us. Dr. Sarah turned to him, her curiosity piqued. A meeting? What for? They want to discuss their thanks and talk about future cooperation, Jason explained. It seems they're quite impressed with our capabilities. Commander Davis nodded approvingly. Let's set up a meeting. It's time we got to know them better and see how we can build on this alliance. Dr. Sarah and Commander Davis made their way to the conference room, where a holographic projection of the alien leader awaited them. The alien was a striking figure, with an elegant form and eyes that glowed with a soft, calming light. The leader's presence was both regal and approachable. Greetings, humans! The alien leader's voice came through the speakers, smooth and melodious. I am Zaylor, representative of the Zorath Collective. We wish to express our deepest gratitude for your assistance. Without you, our fleet would have been lost. Commander Davis took a seat at the table and nodded respectfully. We're glad we could help. It was a team effort, and we're pleased to have made it through together. Zaylor's eyes glowed brighter, a sign of their positive response. We have seen your bravery and resourcefulness. In times of crisis, it is clear that you value cooperation and honor. We wish to establish a formal alliance with your people. Dr. Sarah leaned forward, her interest evident. An alliance? What would that involve? Zaylor's voice took on a tone of earnestness. We propose an exchange of knowledge and resources. The Zorath Collective has advanced technologies and insights that could benefit your people. In return, we would greatly value your expertise in engineering and crisis management. Jason, who had been listening intently, spoke up. That sounds like a promising opportunity. We have a lot to learn from each other. But what about the challenges you faced? Are there any ongoing issues we should be aware of? Zaylor nodded. Yes, there are. Our fleet is still recovering from the damage. We need assistance with repairing and upgrading our systems. Your help in this matter would solidify our partnership. Commander Davis looked at Dr. Sarah, who gave a small nod. We'll assist with the repairs. Our engineers are skilled and ready to help. Zaylor's form shimmered with what seemed like relief. Thank you. We will send you the details of our needs and the locations of our damaged ships. We are confident that with your help, we will be able to overcome these challenges and move forward. As the meeting continued, the two sides discussed the specifics of their cooperation. The Endeavor crew would assist with repairs, and in exchange, the Zorath Collective would share their advanced technologies and knowledge. The talks were conducted in a spirit of mutual respect and optimism, marking the beginning of a new chapter in interstellar relations. After the meeting concluded, Dr. Sarah and Commander Davis returned to the bridge. The alien ships were now actively communicating with them, exchanging data and setting up a schedule for the repairs. This is incredible, Dr. Sarah said, a sense of wonder in her voice. We've not only made new friends, but have also opened the door to a wealth of knowledge and technological advancement. Commander Davis smiled. It's a new era for humanity. We're no longer just explorers, we're becoming partners in a broader galactic community. Jason joined them, his face showing a mixture of exhaustion and satisfaction. It's amazing how far we've come, from responding to a distress signal to forming an alliance. It's something we'll all remember. As the Endeavor continued its journey alongside the Zorath Collective, the crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. The bond they had formed with the alien fleet was more than just a strategic alliance. It was a friendship built on trust and mutual respect. Dr. Sarah looked out at the stars, her thoughts filled with possibilities. The galaxy was vast, and there were countless opportunities ahead. The challenges they had faced had forged a path to a brighter future, one where humanity was no longer alone, but was part of a greater cosmic community. The Endeavor's mission had come full circle, from the initial distress signal to the establishment of a meaningful relationship. As they set course for their next destination, Dr. Sarah knew that this was only the beginning of an exciting journey into the unknown. With new allies and friends by their side, the crew of the Endeavor was ready to explore the stars, eager to see what the future held for humanity and the Zorath Collective.